Hello! Welcome to another reading vlog. Now, I just ended off my last one in the same exact spot. And that's because it is currently Tuesday. The books I didn't finish in my last video that I'm hoping to finish within this one is The Will of the Many and The Memory Police. Both of these books, commentary on societies and people in power. Will of the Many, orphan who has secret past, go to school, work way up in system while giving information to person that he now work for or is now son of, because dude that he is now son of believes that something bad happened to his brother. It's a lot more complex than that. I'm now on page 500, so I have 180 pages left of this. This boy is like 680 pages. She's thick. I'm having fun with this so far. Definitely does feel kind of slower paced in some parts of it, but that being said, I'm still enjoying it. And I was very confused because I was like, this is only a duology. No, it's not. There's already a third book in the works, and the second book comes out at the end of this year. So I was wrong about that because I was very concerned with how this book was going. I was like, how are you going to fit everything that's, I'm guessing, is going to happen within 2 books? But dumb me now knows I was wrong. Hopefully to finish that within this week. And then, I don't think you can see it, but I have The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo that I want to read next because that is also on my 25 for 25. Both of The Will of the Many and The Familiar are on my 25 for 25. So, we're trying to read that down. I've been doing that within the past 2 months now, where I've been reading a lot of them, and I believe with The Will of the Many, I will be close to halfway through. I will be 12 books in, so I have to get halfway through The Familiar to technically be halfway through, because 12.5 gets you to 25. Math! Anyways, the next book that I'm currently reading on my Kindle from the library is The Memory Police. This book is 297 pages. Okay, this one is a lot slower, but I think that this one is more meant to be kind of commentary than it is meant to be action or rebellion based, and we are following our main character who is living in this society where basically things get disappeared is what they call it, which basically means that you can no longer have this thing, you have to burn it, and then slowly your memories, or not slowly, but your memories start to fade of that thing, and you don't remember it. Now, there are people who do remember that, and they get taken away if it's revealed that they do. There's, a lot of things that can happen, but my friend who was finishing it up last night basically was yeah, none of that there's no, rebellion or anything happening to it. So, yes, I was getting spoiled, but again, this is a very short book, so, I would be kind of sad and mad at myself that I didn't finish, a 297-page book. I've already had this for over a week now. I have maybe 5 days left on Libby with it. I don't know why, but certain library books, for some reason, I just cannot, I can't read them quickly. I, for some reason, just let them sit, because I'm I have a good amount of days on that, I can probably finish it later. No, you don't! No, you don't! Anyways, those are my 2 books. Okay, so I have a ton of books that I want to pick up after The Memory Police, but here's the thing. I kind of just want to pick up the 4th Dungeon Crawler Carl book, because the last one was really good, and the next one is supposed to be, basically, you get a quest going into that level of the dungeon, and I'm I want to read that, because it sounds very interesting. We also have a new character, or not a new character, but we do have somebody that is more important to the group now after some events that happened in book 3, and I've been enjoying my time with that. But I also have so many other books that are on Kindle Unlimited or are in my library that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, but I'm also the Dungeon Crawler series is in the first place for me, and I know you're supposed to read what you want to and enjoy it, especially because I'm a mood reader and don't have a set TBR. But, like, there's so many books I should be, not should be, but, like, continue reading the entire Dungeon Crawler series, I'm gonna get nowhere. Okay, there's, like, 9 books in this, and they're all, like, over 400 pages. I would not be able to read any other new books until, like, the end of this year if I decided to just sprint through this series, if we're gonna be honest with each other. So, anyways, those are what I think I'm gonna do throughout this. I need to read down both of these books, so, you know what that means. Let's get to reading. Alright, yesterday was a very productive reading day, so I'm tired, and I know I say that every video and basically every single clip, but I actually pulled weeds this morning and then also took out the trash and stuff, so I've been doing a little bit of cleaning, and if you know me, I'm already tired. That just, didn't help. I finished The Will of the Many by James Islington, and it's very funny to me because I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to even be able to finish it this week, and then I had only 80 pages left, and for some reason something triggers in my brain if there's less than 100 pages left in a book. For some reason my brain's like, I need to read it all in one sitting, I need to finish it, and I did that. So I don't know how to feel. So I was, like, right after I finished it, just because I really liked the ending, I was debating, like, oh, is this, like, my first 5-star of the year? And now that I've sat with it more, I'm like, no, I don't think it is. But I did give it 4.5. I think that if I didn't know that this was going to be a longer series, I would have really been questioning, like, the progression of this book, because this one is very much just, like, explaining the background and the systems, and then also we have quests and stuff, and there is obviously pressure because of who our main character is and what is happening around him, but it is always kind of crazy to me the fact that like at the beginning of this book he was like, oh, nobody can know about my past, and then by the end of this book he's like 3 people have guessed that he's, not who he says that he is, that he's not actually, like, an orphan from this, like, far away island or anything, and he's just kind of like, oh, like, okay, like, and because, like, he doesn't tell them, like, exactly who he is, obviously, because that would be very stupid, but, like, the fact that he's just, like, sitting here from at the beginning of the book being like, nobody can know about me, like, I need to stay hidden, and now he's become, like, one of the most public and talked about figures because of some of the events within this book. I was just sitting there, I was like, that being said, it was a great opportunity, but I think the power system in this is unique. Now, here's the thing. It's not fully explained all that you can do with will. There's a lot of stuff that is shown, and it basically seems like it's like telekinesis kind of stuff, but there's also, like, you can imbue yourself with more strength, like a certain person who has more will, like a Cortis or somebody who has a lot of people giving them their will, like, they can basically disintegrate your organs by punching you. So that's very interesting. And then also, so the reason that there's, like, the will system and stuff is because of this catalysm that happened 300 years ago, and basically the people who have will, like, figured out how to use it from the before time, like, most of it, they don't know everything, and so there's some parts of this book, because this book very much has a mystery element to it, where you're kind of sitting there and you're reading this and you're like, this feels out of place for this. And I was just like, because the world isn't modern, it doesn't have like telephones and stuff, but it definitely feels a lot more, I don't know, like futuristic than the kind of stuff that was happening along with the mystery, because though the mystery stuff felt very like medieval, like very classic fantasy, and then the rest of this was kind of just like here's this flying ship that people are using like to will to power, and it's like okay, like I don't know. I also will say, so it did start to get less tense throughout this book because our character kept basically everything that was like an obstacle to him wasn't. And like, I get writing a strong character, but it definitely does make when they're like doing something to go up in rank or doing something to defend people, you're kind of sitting there and you're like, well, they did this other thing and this thing needs to happen and this is kind of a avenue for it. So like, you're not really, the tension's not fully there. It is interesting to see how the events play out, I will say that, but it is also very funny to me, like, I'm just sitting there, the amount of stuff that, like, chaos that has happened within this, and, like, the way that certain things were achieved, I was like, huh? But anyways, I also want to say, so I appreciate the conversation in this, like I've said 1,000 times already. I do think, though, that it lacked some of the complexity just from our character Viz being kind of in the middle of everything and not like being able to argue back with people when these kind of arguments come up, because he like doesn't want to put himself in danger. So it's kind of just like him being like, this thing's bad, I don't want this, and then the other person's like, well, shut up because this is why it's good, and then he kind of has to just be like, I don't agree with you, but I don't want to fight with you. So, and I also will say, because, like, the complexity also comes from showing that, and obviously we are shown and we are given, like, the context and stuff behind it, but the way that you need to see, like, both sides, because the people who use will, obviously, we do see their bad stuff, and it's talked about in this horrible stuff that they've done, but we didn't fully see, like, all of this or all these horrible events. And also, so there is, the prologue is in the back of this book, which, yes, I know, it's usually an epilogue, but apparently they cut it out, and was what happened to Viz in Suez, which is Suez, I don't know how to pronounce it, in the country that he was born in that got invaded and stuff. And I was sitting there and I was like, so why was this left out? Because the beginning definitely does with the prison system and the way that it works within this book of like basically paralyzing people and taking their will away, and they have like no control over their body or anything. That's terrifying, and that's a good reason to hate them, but it's basically like throughout the book you get glimpses of like, here's what happened to like my family, but like, oh, you don't know the full details, you don't know how actually bad it was. And then you read that and you're like, that adds so much more context to why he hates them so much, why he doesn't want Will, why like still going and stuff. And I don't know why they cut it out. I just believe that it shouldn't have been, and I'm happy that they put it in the back of this book, because I was very interested in that, because it was hinted at throughout the entire book, but we never got the full context, and having the full context, I think, makes his story even more, like, impactful. But anyways, yes, I am actually, like, foaming at the mouth to pick up the second book, because the way that this one ended is absolutely crazy, and I will say I really do love trial stuff, which is at the end of this. Basically, the rest of it was kind of just, like, them learning stuff and running this labyrinth and stuff, and the end of this book I also was confused by for a little bit, until I was like looked up online and stuff and like kind of reread it a little bit, and I was like, oh, but it's still confusing. Even the like, oh no, what's it called? The description of the next book, even that still has me confused, because some of the things that happen at the end of this nowhere mentioned throughout this book, really. Well, at least what happens. Anyways, craziness. I did enjoy my time. Not my first 5-star of the year, but I was gripped at the end because that trial was absolutely insane. I also feel like it was a little convenient at sometimes, some of the stuff happening in this, but anyways, I've done enough ripping on that. So I read 50 more pages of The Memory Police, and apparently I thought I had like 94, 92 pages left of it. No, I have 78. So I'm hoping, because my brain, again, like I said, whenever there's less than 100 pages left, my brain gets triggered to read all of that. So hopefully we can finish that, because I have, 2 days left on this book now? Why has it taken me almost 2 weeks to read like a 278 page book? That's sad, honestly. So, I don't know. I'll give you more context to that later, because I'm still like trying to get my thoughts together, because one of my friends was reading it and she was like talking about it. She didn't realize I didn't finish it yet. So like I don't know full spoilers, but I do know like a certain event that might happen, which is like a spoiler, but like not how it ends or anything like that. It is a very interesting commentary. Both books, interesting commentary. So the next book that is on my 25 for 25 that I need to pick up, that I don't really want to, is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I do have the sprayed-edged one. I don't know if this is, from what I've heard, that this is going to stain my hand. Now, I wasn't like seeking out this edition. I just picked it up because it was the first one I saw, and I literally saw no other editions of this. My Barnes, for some reason, very skimpy on a lot of her books, but I've heard nothing but bad things about this book, and I know, like, make your own opinion, form your own thoughts and all of that, but it's very hard to when all you've heard about that thing is bad. That's like using a product that all other people are been like, yeah, that made my skin bad. You're like, anytime that you get itchy or like anything, you're gonna be like, oh, it's that product. Like, it's so hard to like pull that from your mind and like just be sitting there and taking it in and not having anything against it already. So all I know is that this is, like, I think vampires or magical people set in Spain. In a shabby house in the new capital of Madrid, a lowly Scolan hides a gift for little miracles, but when her employer discovers Luez Catoto's secret talent, she demands Luez use her illusions to win over the royal court. Determined to forge a better life for herself, Luez plunges into a world of power-hungry nobility, desperate kings, holy men, and hucksters. Between magic and science and fraud blur, with the prize of the Inquisition burning, she must use every bit of her wit and will to win fame and hide the truth of her ancestry, even if that means enlisting the help of the notorious Gurien Santangel. I completely butchered that. Whose own secrets could doom them both. Yeah, that's all that I really knew about it. Was set in Spain, possible revolution, person hiding their magic abilities. It sounds interesting. And I do love historical fiction. I don't think, again, because this is like fantasy, it's obviously, I don't think it's going to be, I'm not going into this expecting to learn about the the Inquisition or the like revolutions and stuff. I'm not expecting to learn about that, okay? But I do think that this will supply like at least a little bit of history, because Miss Leigh Bardugo loves doing that. She loves taking things from actual history and being like, here you go. We're gonna see. I'm terrified. I'm very terrified to read this, and I don't know, I feel like it's very unfair of me to be reading this at all because I already have it implanted in my head, like, negative opinions of this. So I might not give this a fair review. If this is like your favorite book by her, first off, have you read Six of Crows duology? And then also, I'm sorry, because I'm probably not going to give it a fair shot, but I have been wanting to dwindle down my 25 for 25, and I've read, this will be my third book that I've read in a row that will be for that. So, we're getting down to it. I am now, when I get halfway through this, I will be halfway through my 25 for 25, which is good, because I need to get that down. We are more than halfway through the year, and I'm just barely reaching halfway through that list. And I have 2 over 1,000-page books on there. It's fine. Anyways, reading plans, start The Familiar, hopefully finish The Memory Police. We'll see if I even do. But anyways, let's get to reading. Good evening. So, I don't even know what I said at the beginning of this video my reading plans are, but I have, like, a pretty decent sized update for you. I have read 300 pages of Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I have, like, less than 100 pages left to read of that book. So, here's what happened. I was like, oh, Finlay Donovan the first book is on Kindle Unlimited. Oh, the first 3 books are on Kindle Unlimited. Let me go read this, because I've been craving a kind of mystery, like, not thriller, but like murder mystery, kind of chaotic, funny thriller kind of mystery. And because I've been seeing so much about Good Girl's Guide to Murder recently, so my brain was craving something similar to that because I adore that series. So, I picked up Finlay Donovan is Killing It, and what this book is about is following a mother of 2 who is also an author, and before she goes and meets her agent, who is trying to get updates on her new book, her 5-year-old daughter, took a dull knife and, like, cut a patch of her hair out. And so Finlay had to, like, basically use duct tape to satisfy her daughter before going to school to, like, tape the hair back onto her head. And then she also, because she doesn't want to get, like, recognized out and about places, which is funny because she talks about, like, how not sold her books are, but I find it really funny that she's like, I need a disguise. So she's wearing, like, big glasses, a blonde wig, and, like, red lipstick, and she goes into this Panera to meet her agent, and she's a author of like murder mystery romance books. And so her and her agent are just basically talking about, like, get the job done, get the hit done, and, like, you know, the heroine who will come in and save her after, you know, you kill the dude off. Like, basically a bunch of stuff to where it, like, implies that she's, like, a hit person. And this woman behind her, like, has been staring at her. And then also in Finlay's bag, she has the dull knife that her daughter used to, like, get her haircut. And there's, like, a little bit of blood on it. And then there's also the duct tape that has, like, the knife has blood on it, the duct tape has hair on it, jeez Louise. So this lady behind her is hearing all of this and thinks that she's a hit person, and basically hires her to go and take out a hit on her husband. So, you might be like, why would you ever do that? She's currently going through this divorce, and the ex-husband is trying to basically take full custody of her kids, and she is, like, really down on her money, down on her luck, and so she basically really needs, like, money to prove that she is still capable of taking care of her children and stuff so that they don't get taken away from her. And it is very funny because you might, like, have heard the first part of this and been like, are you sure she should be? But she has shown that her ex-husband doesn't actually care about the kids. He just wants, like, to have basically the knowledge, or, like, be able to say that he, like, has supported his kids and all of this stuff. He cares more about how it looks rather than what he does, because whenever he has them on, like, the weekends, he gives them basically to a babysitter and just goes hang out with his new fiance. Like, also, the ex-husband cheated, so everything kind of goes from there of, like, is a person's life worth this amount of money, even if they're, like, this horrible person? And now we have this whole unraveling of this mystery of, like, oh, the mob might be involved, the Russian mob might be involved, and is my ex-husband's now fiance somehow involved in all of this stuff? And there's also, like, a little bit of romance happening in this right now that I'm really enjoying. It's really good. It has humor, it has a lot of, like, dry sarcasm. It is also very interesting to follow along with the mystery. I think that that's really well done, and I'm so, like, puzzled, and I have no idea where this is gonna go. I have, like, a somewhat idea, but again, this series I think is, like, 4 or 5 books long, maybe 6. I know one's coming out either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, so I'm very interested in how this one's going to end. If I'm thinking of the right ending to this, how the second book's gonna be. But it has been really fun. I have, like, less than 100 pages of it, and I was really tempted to kind of just finish it last night, but I was like, I should probably talk to you before I finish this, because I don't want to come here and just, like, have all my final thoughts about it and not have talked to you at all about it. But I do think for some people, if you don't like kids, like, characters and stuff, I think that this would probably bother you. If you also want, like, a super serious, like, murder mystery, also not for you, because it definitely does talk about, like, the violence and also the craziness that can happen with that, but it is very, very, like, sarcastic and very good humor. And I think that the dynamics in this are also very interesting, because there is this babysitter that she has named Vero, who is, like, I adore her so much, but I'm also having, because of the amount of, like, sketchy stuff that's happening, I'm having a hard time trusting, like, her, basically every character within this. I'm like, I don't know if I trust you, because the amount of stuff that's gotten unveiled that's like, hey, that doesn't make sense with how this actually happened, and we're like, oh. I love it so far. So my other update that I have for you, I'm okay. The Familiar. I am on chapter 5, which is page 29. I've had this for like 3 days now, and I've picked it up only once. Okay. Here's the thing. I think I have been influenced, and I think that I don't think I'm going to give this its fair shake, and also because I don't really want to read this. And here's the thing. I don't think I ever will want to. And so I kind of just want to get it off of my 25 for 25. I also bought it this year, so, like, I don't want to waste the money that was spent on this and just, like, DNF it right away, which, yes, I know is not a good thing, and it's not gonna, my review is not gonna be good because of that. So I'm just gonna say, if you love this book, it's absolutely my fault if I give this a bad review, because of, like, every aspect that is going towards this. Now, something that I did say when I was reading Hellbent was that it kind of had vulgarness when it was not necessary, And what I meant by that was kind of the descriptions of body parts of in the way that like some of the characters talked, or like not necessarily the violence, but it just kind of was very different. It felt even different from Ninth House, the first book, because I'm so used to her like YA writing and I adore it so much that when this stuff is thrown in here like this, it just gives me the sense of like a person who's getting to like swear for the first time and is like, yeah. But I also, so this is multi-POV, and I do appreciate so far, even though I'm only 28 pages in, that we are getting both of those, because I think it is very important to this story of what it is. And I will say the second POV is, like, I feel bad for them, but I really do not care that much how they feel and stuff. But it is an important perspective, and I'm guessing it's going to be even more vital to the story later on. But I'm just like, I don't really care. And then also going back to the vulgarity of it, so there's talks of assault within this, right? And there is talks of like male body parts, and in a specific scene there's talk of our main character Louisa washing this like old man, and then and she describes it as like a hamster or something, and I was just like, listen, it's important to discuss like these kinds of things and topics. I completely agree with that, but like, I don't know why you need to describe that. I don't know why you because I'm an imaginative reader, okay? You could have left that out and I would have been horrified, okay? So like, there's some descriptors, there's some unnecessary like brutality and stuff so far that I haven't really been loving. And so this is probably going to take me a good while to read, just because I do kind of have to be in the mood to read it, which does very much suck. And I just wish I hadn't seen all the negative reviews of this and all of that, and I really wish that I wasn't as that it wasn't as stuck in my head as it is. So I'm very sorry for how harsh I am treating this, especially because Leigh Bardugo, she's one of my favorite authors, okay? I have 2 5-star books from her. I absolutely adore the Grishaverse so much. So I don't mean to go into this just bashing her. I just it's so hard for me to take away all of the comments that I've heard about it. But anyways, I'm repeating myself with that a bunch. So I'm probably not going to finish this within this video. Although this is on the shorter side for a book. It's less than 400 pages, which to me, because I recently have been reading 600-page books, this is on the shorter side. So yeah. Anyways, so Finlay, Donovan, and The Familiar. Those are my reading plans. Probably going to finish Finlay, Donovan either today or tomorrow, because I don't think I have that much left of it. So we're going to see if I pick up the second book. I've also been craving to pick up the 4th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, which I am forgetting the name of, because they're all very, not necessarily super weird, but they are definitely unique names for books. But yeah, so those are my reading plans. I might pick up the second book in the Finlay Donovan series. I have no idea, but we will figure that out as we keep reading. So let's do that. Do you wish to say hi to the people? So if you hear snorting, my dog is here. So, updates. So, we should start off first with Finlay Donovan is killing it. I finished that book. Yes, I did. And I gave it 4 stars. So, I think I told you the kind of the base of the story, about how it's this mother who is an author but also needs money because she's going through a divorce and also possibly a custody battle. So this one is like gets very insane, and the ending of it, at least because there's an epilogue, is very like sets up the next book very well. And I was kind of like literally sat up. I was like, what now? Because it's truly crazy to me, to the direction that we're going for the second book, which yes, I am already 100 pages deep into. Finlay Donovan is killing it. She has this whole like murder mystery thing that's happening, and then on top of that she has like her kids, her ex-husband, his fiance, and like everybody always is somehow involved in all of this. And we also get involved in like the mob, and so obviously that's carrying over to the second book. But these are like exactly basically what I was looking for. They're sarcastic, there's a murder mystery, it has like a good like romantic B plot, and then it also has very not necessarily too complex mysteries, but I'm not sitting there instantly knowing where we're going with it or who it is. I'm kept guessing just as much as Finlay Donovan is. And I also really love a lot of the characters. I really love Vero. I really like her daughter and her son, and also the like chaos of trying to solve these murders or like events that are happening while she has her kids like in the back seat, or like is taking them with her during all of this. It just adds a whole nother like kind of comedic element to it. And like I said, if you don't like kids, don't read this book. I will say they're not like annoying, and I don't think I have read a book that has like children as like an integral part to the story. So like for all I know, these children could be very annoying, and I'm just like have nothing to compare it against. But like to me, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's like a 5-year-old because I've babysat before. I'm like, yeah, that's what a 5-year-old sounds like to me. I also love the fact that this is kind of meta because of we are in this world where Finlay Donovan is trying to write a murder mystery romance, and then that ends up being what her life is about. And then we also have our author who's writing about an author who's writing about the same thing. It's there's levels upon levels to this at this point. I had a fun time. I'm already on the second book. I'm on the second book. Finlay Donovan knocks him dead. And okay, so the romance, like I said, is a B plot. It's not the like important part of this. I do want to say though, I'm suspicious of one of our love interests, Julian, and I really love our other one, Nick, just because the way that she like describes him and stuff. Listen, so Finlay's in her 30s and Julian is a like college student. I don't think he's in his teen years. I think he is probably like 20 or something. But it is definitely a little like weird having that age gap, just because I tend not to like age gap romances, and so having them together, I'm a little like when there's so much, like I like Nick so much more and I can't wait for there to be like 5,000 other love interests, and then me still being like, but Nick, I can't wait for him to probably do something horrendous. That's probably what's going to happen if there are other love interests. At least I think there might be. I have no idea. Okay? So, that's what I'm currently reading. I am also currently reading The Familiar. I am on page 160, which is chapter 25. So, I'm close to being halfway through this. And let me tell you, audiobook was the right way to go. I don't know what has been happening, but like recently picking up physical books I've just not been able to do it for some reason. Like there are certain ones, like The Will of the Many, like that's the only like physical book that I've actually picked up and like fully read through, and haven't picked up an audiobook or gotten like an e-file of it. I don't know why that keeps happening, but I had like no urge to pick this up and keep reading it, just because, like I said, at 28 pages, I was not having a fun time. And I will say, now that we're much deeper into this, I am having a lot more fun and interest in actually caring about this plot now. I do think that this is definitely getting a lot better. I love the kind of religious commentary that we're getting, because obviously this is happening during the Spanish Inquisition, which basically, like, if you ain't a part of our religion, we're just gonna cut your head off. And if you think I'm joking, look it up, okay? They did way worse to people. They had tortured people for not believing in their religion, and our main character is Jewish. And guess what? They don't like that. Basically, during the Inquisition, if you were Jewish or Islamic, your head's gonna get cut off. So, within this, the power system is based around, like, the, like, song kind of things, where they sing, and they have these songs that make whatever they're trying to, like, do, like, she sung to a plant and it, like, grew a ton, basically. And this is very dangerous, because our character doesn't want people to, like, actually realize what they're doing and who they are. And they have now gotten wrapped up into this whole thing, because our other character, well, there's so many characters. One of our other characters, Valentine, I don't know. She is basically this, like, poor lady's wife, and when you're a woman in this society, you're not allowed to go anywhere without, like, a male chaperone. That either has to be, like, your father, your brother, or your husband, basically. And so she's just in this house alone, torturing Louisa and her cook as well. And then now that she has, like, people coming over and people giving her offers to go to their house, and, like, being made to feel, like, important and stuff, basically off of the back of Louisa's powers that are risking Louisa's life. She's a very interesting character, because you feel for her, but you're also, like, you're doing such a horrible thing, and you're, like, just sitting there wanting this, like, power and attention that you're being given, because you've been, like, without it for a long time. And her character is very interesting, because you're, like, sitting there being like, yeah, you're not doing too well, your husband sucks, because he's always, like, traveling in away, and, like, you know, you don't have the fancy dresses and stuff, and people look down on you and stuff, but, like, maybe, you know, you don't need to yell at or be horrible to the people who are, the two people in your house who are assisting you. And then you also have our love interest, which I do want to say, I think that's what made this a little bit more interesting, especially because we're now at, like, the king's court performing magic and stuff. So we have Antonio, who I believe is our love interest, who, like, I think is, like, over 100 something years old. He's very old, but apparently he, like, his magic feels, like, connected to Louisa, and she, like, awakens stuff in him. I also think, I don't know what happened, but it feels like the vulgarity got, like, dialed down a lot more. I hate that I keep saying vulgarity, but, like, the explicitness of some of the descriptions got dialed down. And I was talking to my friend who has already read this, and I was talking about how, kind of, when she's an adult, her writing doesn't feel as, like, lyrical as her YAs do, and I think that's because she doesn't feel the need to kind of come up with ways around, like, basically saying, like, swear words or describing body parts that are, you know, inappropriate for YA stuff. And so I feel like with this, she kind of just gets to be more blunt with it, which I think in this, like, this book at least, I feel like it works a little bit more, just because of the way that our characters are and the fact that they're, like, hiding secrets and stuff, and so they can feel a little bit more blunt, and the world can definitely be, like, I don't know, described as harsher because of it being set in, like, an actual historical period where horrible stuff was happening. So I, if you don't know, really do love history stuff, so this is keeping my interest, and I do, so far, I like the kind of romance that we're setting up, although it is a little weird, because I forget how old Louisa is, but, like, this dude, again, is, like, a couple hundred years old. I'm enjoying it a lot more. I love how I talked so much trash about that at the beginning, and then now I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying it more. But anyways, those are my reading updates. I'm reading the second book in the Finlay Donovan series already, and then I am going to hopefully listen to more of the audiobook for The Familiar. So, with that, let's get back to reading. Well, hello. So we have some updates. Okay, so let's start off with the easiest one first, which is that I am now on chapter 35, which is 236 pages into The Familiar. Okay, so this book, literally on the back of it, talks about, or is it within the book, about there being like a slow burn romance. And listen, I know we're basically almost done with this, and like, that's, fine, but whenever somebody talks about slow burn, I guess I tend to think about books where it's like the very last 100 pages where they're kind of confessing their feelings and stuff, and you get lucky if anything else kind of happens, or there's like an ending after like something intense happens and they confess their feelings or something, and then there's like the epilogue where it's like them being happy together or something like that, or setting up for another book. So I mean, there's elements of romance in this, definitely, but I don't know if I would say it's slow burn. Because again, I'm only like 260 pages something in, and this book's almost 400, so like, I am over halfway. I am close to being done with it, but like, still, I was a little shocked, because there is like tension between the characters, and it was building up, and I was starting to believe in the romance within this, but then it kind of just felt like it got like shot down, like the tension and everything, because it just had them getting together, and I was like, I thought this was supposed to be slow burn. I thought that this was supposed to be like a longer build up towards this. Not that I'm like upset by the romance in this, but it is always really funny to me when you have a character who's like 400 something years old versus like a 20-year-old, which actually I will say is better, because in like Twilight, Edward was like 100 something years old, and Bella was like 17, actually maybe 16 when those books started, so it is nice to have a character who's like 20 and dealing with that, and it's not like her being super young and naive and stuff, although she is still really young. 20 is still really young, and she's in a very stressful situation. There's a lot of factors going into this, but I'm finding this like fun and interesting. It is just like, because of how short it is, it kind of makes me curious as to how we're gonna wrap it up this quickly, because we're still like in the middle of the court and stuff, and we're still like trying to get the king's ear, and there's also been stuff hinted at about what might happen to the king, and I'm just very confused at how we're gonna settle all of this, because our character Louisa that we're following, like, her main purpose is to basically be good enough with her magic that she goes and gets the king's ear and like serves the Victor dude that Antonio is serving, and basically give him information and stuff. And also, while all this is happening, she's trying to hide the fact that she's Jewish, and that's where her magic is coming from, and not like, a gift from Christian God. So it's interesting. I like the kind of commentary on religion. I like the dynamics of the character, that she's not shying away from like showing the people who are power hungry and like greedy, who want basically like Louise to do really well so that they can keep getting stuff, and still treating her horrible because she's not like her status technically hasn't changed because she hasn't won the tournament and stuff, and so they're still treating her badly. I like the kind of commentary about that and how, you know, she's like this, the whole reason that Valentine's like life has changed and why she's getting all this attention now, and yet she still treats her like, I mean, she treats her better, but she still treats her not good. So I think that's interesting. Also, the historical aspect, I feel like because I don't know too much about the Inquisition, that I'm not, like, you know, fully gathering how horrible everything is, because I have context to it, but I don't have, like, you know, I know there was torture, and they're talking about that in this book, like, very lightly, though, as of right now, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I have not read up on how bad that torture actually is. I remember earlier I was like, yeah, they'll like cut people's heads off, which is true, and I heard, yeah, they torture them, but I have not seen how horrendous it actually was. But guessing from the time period that this is set in, which is I think the 17th century, so the 1600s, I'm guessing it's really bad. The next thing to tell you about is that I did finish the second Finlay Donovan book. I don't know what happens, but every now and then I will just find like a book series and I will just binge it. Now, I will say this is probably the first one that I've read back to back like this in a good minute, and yes, I did pick up the third book already, and I am already like 108 pages deep into it. Can't wait to have like all of these books on my thumbnail, and people are going to be like, what happened? How'd you read this much? And I'm going to be like, girl, I don't know. Finlay Donovan knocks 'em dead. I gave that 4.25. I really enjoyed this one. I will say, though, this one doesn't have the mystery, like, fully wrapped up, and that's because of the way that it leads into the third book. So it is a little bit of a unsatisfying ending, but it is very, like, a lot more action-heavy of an ending than it was in the first book, at least to me. And we're also now deeper into, like, dealing with the Russian mob that's here. We're, like, you know, have further crimes piled on our plate now that we're concerned about. And we also have all of our, like, relationships and stuff that are very tense and interesting. Especially because this one has such a good one because our love interest is a cop. And so she obviously, like, has to stay away from him to not incriminate herself, but he really likes her. He really likes her, and so he's always kind of around, and she kind of has this irresistible, like, pull to him, even because she'll, like, his scent and stuff, like, makes her kind of space out or want to kiss him and stuff, like, basically that kind of stuff. And I hate the fact that I turn into like a little schoolgirl when I've been reading those scenes, but it does make me really happy. I also, like, because of that and what Finlay is doing within these books and what she's kind of having to deal with and what she's getting cornered into dealing with, makes their tension so much better. And I also really love Vero and Finlay's relationship as well. Oh, and also, so only the first 3 books are on Kindle Unlimited, and so I went on to Libby, and now that I'm saying this, it's probably not going to be on there anymore. But in this one, they're trying to track down somebody who is possibly a dirty cop who's also a contract killer within this, and the reason that they're doing that is because the Russian mob is being extorted by this person, and basically the mob's like, hey, you know what? You cleaned things up in the past. Why don't you clean this one up? I'm having a very good time, if you can't tell. But I, like, as of this third book, because of how much contact we're having with Nick, and then also the stakes of the trying to figure out who this contract killer who might be a dirty cop is, there's, like, so much tension, and then also the romance aspects, the friendship aspects. It's all very good. So I'm 108 pages deep. My brain is telling me, you know what, why don't you just get 200 pages and then you can finish it tomorrow. Girl, I need to listen to my audiobook. That's what I need to do. I need to stop. But I'm having fun. That's all that matters when you're reading, okay? So I think it's Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun is the third book. So I don't know what happens to me. Apparently, if I read like murder mysteries, apparently I just need to read them back to back. We're going to try and finish The Familiar. We're going to see what happens with Finlay, Donovan jumps the gun. Anyways, my reading plans, just basically finish the books that I'm currently reading right now and have fun with them. So, with that, let's get back to reading and try to finish these books. Can you stop snorting at me? So if you hear any snorting like that, my dog is currently here. So, it has been a couple days. I'm also sweaty because I just took, like, every piece of trash out of this house. So, I'm sweaty, and it's been a couple of days. So, alright, what should we talk about first? Oh, okay. So, I finished both my books. Congratulations to me. I did the easy part of this. So, I finished the third book in the Finlay Donovan series, Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun, and I gave it 4 stars. Okay, I am going to be taking a break from reading this series now after reading the first 3 back to back, because yeah, that's a little much to do. Now, this one was, for some reason, less than 300 pages, but it's very funny because I still really enjoyed it, even though it was less than 300 pages, because in this one, we're kind of dealing more with, like, stuff that happened in Vero's past, and, like, they're going to this police academy to try and find, like, the bad cop for the Russian mob. So that's really fun. I want to say, though, even though this isn't absolutely, like, about the romance in this is so good, okay? The tension within this book, the freaking, the, like, conversations and the little subtle, like, inferences whenever they say something that could be, like, dirty and they, like, raise their eyebrow at the other person. It's so good, and I also really love the kind of arc that Finlay has come on with wanting to date Nick, and, like, letting herself realize, oh, it's not a bad thing to be loved, and, like, you know, realizing kind of what it would mean to go into a relationship with him, and having that kind of conversation with herself and talk, which you normally don't have, and I very much appreciate it, because typically it's just like, oh, this person's, like, hot and they're, like, have good tension, but within this, she's, like, actually, like, he cares about my kids, he has a stable job, like, and also that she now understands that she wants to be with somebody who can protect her, and that she, you know, doesn't need that, but she feels comforted by it, and, like, I'm so happy with this because it has the reinforcement of, like, a strong, independent woman, but it also has a very good, like, romance and stuff within it, and I love the fact that those two are balanced very well within it. And I will say this mystery, okay, I have not once been like, this is what's gonna happen. I've, like, predicted what is gonna happen next, like, a possible event, but within this one, no, I could not. The ending of this one is chaotic, and like I said, I'm taking a break from it just because I feel like reading them back to back is going to make me a little psychotic. I do want to pick up Veronica's little novella that is, like, the 3.5 book, and I want to, like, see what happened in her past, because I think that one, if I'm remembering the description correctly, it's just basically about Veronica and how she's in the position that she is now, because she has a whole past with, like, crime and stuff, and I adore her character so much. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about reading a novella for her, just because I love her and Finley's dynamic so much, and I don't know what I'm going to do without that dynamic in her book, because that's part of the reason why I love these so much, is even with the subplots of romances, and that's really good, you still have this very strong friendship as the main center point, and like this strong like helping each other when she has kids and all that, and it's very fun. So I would recommend this series. The other book that made it so I'm on 8 books for this month, yes, you heard that right, 8 books for this month, is Miss The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I need to take the bookmark out of this. So I ended up giving The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo 3 stars. It's funny to me because I now like sit here and I would tell you that this would have benefited from being like a series. At least in my opinion, I think that this would have been a lot better as that, and I think I've realized that Leigh Bardugo, when she becomes very confident in a certain like world and dynamic, because you can see that progress throughout the Grishaverse of like her getting more comfortable and like her stuff becoming more like lyrical and the characters becoming stronger and like the relationships also being really good. I feel like she does not do as well with just having like singular books with like new relationships that she has to establish. And I did enjoy this. I like history. 3 stars, obviously. I'm not sitting here being like, this is horrible, never read this. But I definitely think it's not going to be my favorite from her. I don't know if anything's ever going to top 6 of Crows for me from her, so that does feel bad because I am judging it against like those kinds of books. But at the same time, like, I do that with every author that I read. I have certain books of theirs that I might like more, that I, kind of, when I'm reading, I possibly subconsciously bet against them with the other really good books, but I do think that this is a very valuable, like, not history lesson, but kind of conversation on the Inquisition and Jewish and Islamic religions and how they were affected during that time, and also kind of the greed and horrendous things that were happening during that time period. And I do like the ending of this book. I was kind of, there was a point in it where I was like, that's not how you're gonna end it, right? And then we got to the actual ending. I was like, oh, okay, chill. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. So I have fun with this. I was questioning my sanity at some points, because this talks about like a slow burn romance, but I feel like, at least just because, again, this is under 400 pages, I think it's hard to do slow burn and have it feel like there's actually this really big connection between them without having to establish it like pretty quickly. And I feel like she did that, where she was like halfway through the book, she was like, and now kiss, like, I was already kind of feeling the pull and like the need for each other, and then also the comfort that they were forming. And then it kind of felt like it just happened really quickly, and then it was like, cool, like, y'all ain't questioning each other anymore, and there's not that aspect to this relationship anymore. And I also just didn't feel the connection as much as I would have liked to within their relationship. I didn't have this, like, where I was like, oh my gosh, yay, they finally got together, or like, oh my gosh, they're so cute together. It was kind of just like a part of this book. and Leigh Bardugo, she knows how to write a romance. Some of her romances, not my favorites, but she does definitely know how to do a really good job with tension and stuff, and I kind of felt like it was lacking within this. I also do really love the fact that we get multiple viewpoints within this as well, because you're not just getting Louisa as she's kind of going to this court and competing in this competition, and her fears of being discovered, and you're getting Antonio, you're getting Valentina, you're getting, we at one point got somebody, oh yes, Luisa's aunt, and they're all very good. I don't think any of them felt like any of them were unnecessary. I felt like they did add to the story, and I felt like kind of seeing the character progression of some of them, and the way that what is happening with Louisa is affecting them, and what the fallout of her going to court and having magic, how that also affects them, was very interesting. I will say I do like Valentina's character arc within this, although she definitely is still not like the best person, but I also really loved the kind of revenge that Antonio gets within this and how satisfying that felt as well. It was really good, but again, not my favorite by her. I still very much enjoyed it, so don't, like, if this is your favorite book by her, don't feel offended at all, okay? It was still an enjoyable time. There was just some stuff that wasn't clicking with me the way that I wish that it did. But anyways, those are my reading updates. And this is also the end of the vlog. So, anyways, let me know if you've read any of these books, what your opinions on them are, if you disagree with me or if you do agree with me. Let's have a discussion on books, guys. And thank you so much for watching this. Genuinely, this has been chaos. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, read books that you like, and maybe find a 5-star too. So, bye!